Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here today with my dear friend, Melusine Starspark, who I wanted to invite on to have a chat, a conversation about the course that she's running this fall rather, starting in September, I believe, on do-it-yourself plant-based medicine. So just a little bit about Melusine. Melusine is a Jungian psychologist whose professional training also encompasses certification in astrological chart analysis and shamanic apprenticeship under the tutelage of an Ojibwe elder of the First Nations of Canada. She is trained to reach into the multi-dimensional universe to retrieve information to aid every client who approaches her seeking wholeness and harmony on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. A born synesthete who is able to see sound and energy, Melusine has combined her natural talents with integrated modern therapeutic techniques and ancient traditions to offer clients a unique perspective and comprehensive solution to any hardship they're looking to overcome. Welcome, Melusine. It's so lovely to have you. And I don't know if you can hear, but my cat is also joining us as well. So.
Oh, perfect. We want our feline allies adding their energy into the mix. I'm honored.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the course you're offering. Let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this.
Well, I was motivated to commence with this based on certain things that I have encountered when counseling as far as mental health being off the charts right now, and the anxiety levels, adrenal fatigue, all of these maladies that are specific to what we would categorize as first world countries, and how we could possibly attend to that in an effective way without necessarily giving our power away to authorities or figures who say they know what's best for you, when in actual fact your body is communicating something in ways that only you can respond to properly. And so I just want to offer the tools that would, on top of everything else, revive the notion of the wise woman tradition. It was in ancient times customary that women understood the value of plant allies and how to use them when a variety of different things presented themselves that were an indication of distress, not just physical distress, but emotional and mental distress. And we have all of those in spades right now, coupled with the fact that hospital-acquired infections are now one of the leading causes of death. It is important that we start to learn how to increase our own natural immunity, given the fact that there are such things as superbugs, which means that you've got viral mutation that is resistant to what is currently prescribed where antibiotics are concerned. I don't even like that word. Antibiotic means against something living. So I'd like to strike that from our vocabulary and start to embrace a philosophy that involves support, nurturing, and understanding the mechanisms of how our body holistically functions.
Cheers to that. That sounds incredible. And I know we've had some personal conversations where I've asked you a number of questions over the summer, seeking your wisdom and your help with various things that have presented for me and my family, ranging from reactions to insect bites, stings, interactions with poison ivy, a significant fall that I had, and how you were saying, yeah, I'm covering all of this in my course today. So interesting that you're doing this ahead of schedule. What sorts of things are you going to cover in the course? Like, what can people expect topic-wise? Can you give a bit of an idea?
Well, I want people to understand that I am not an herbalist and I am not a microbiologist, but I have been trained by extraordinarily gifted people who have those qualifications and chose to share that within the context of their cultural philosophies towards life in general, and how we can embrace nature as opposed to relying on other things, where what I'm trying to point out that, and myself included, we have all fallen under the spell of the seduction of convenience. So you want something quick and easy. It doesn't involve doing a lot of work, not labor intensive. Just give me a magic pill and get this the hell away from me. I don't have time for this. So the key here is to get a better understanding of the patience that is necessary to know your body, to understand the subtle signals that it's presenting, and to get acquainted with what remedies exist in the plant kingdom. I am not teaching how to cultivate plants, although you can absolutely grow all of the plants that I mentioned in the course. This is even simpler than that. What I am in actual fact describing to you is a way to know how to identify certain common plants that grow everywhere. You have a pharmacy at the tip of your fingers. Granted, we live in Canada and it's a short growing season, so the times that you would harvest would be spring and fall for various substances that you would then process. And I talk about how you would forage for these parts of the plants that are specific to addressing issues that the body might have from an antioxidant standpoint, from a support of the immune system, antifungal, antiviral. All of the remedies exist in nature, and you don't have to mimic those, and they are not going to harm you. Now, one point I would have to advocate is that I am not replacing the advice of a medical practitioner. And if you are on prescription drugs, you must find out if there are contraindications on the part of the plants that I'm suggesting you use. For example, lemon balm can affect the thyroid. So if you're on thyroid meds, do not use lemon balm. There can be an added impact because you're already taking a drug that is affecting that gland. And if you take something else, that would constitute an adverse response. And the other thing I point out is that the remedies have to be taken in specific dosages that are palatable and that the body can absorb effectively. So this is a gradual thing, as opposed to if you find yourself in an acute situation where you're having tachycardia, palpitations, and sweating. That's a whole other situation where the plants can provide you with the support. But if you're in a crisis, that's a whole other circumstance that you could avoid. So the idea here is preventive medicine, putting yourself in a position where when you see these things coming, you can address them before they become a crisis. And I also teach the fact that there is always an emotional component where that might find itself lodged in your body, how to effectively release that, whether it's trauma-based or toxicity, and how to just generally maintain your body and your mental state so that no matter what circumstances you find yourself, whether you have environmental toxins that are highly concentrated where you live and the accompanying problems that, say, living in an urban situation causes you, even something like road rage, getting to and from work where the traffic is unmanageable and people are losing their minds. These are the things that you can, from a lifestyle standpoint, modify and bring yourself to a level where you are not at the peak level of inefficiency where any small thing can tip you over. Also, the plants that I specify exactly where you were my poster child for everything that I'm going to be saying in the modules. Is like you're calling me up saying, what do I do about poison ivy? Oh boy, yeah, I've got that in module 5. So the things that you encounter when you're out hiking, walking with your dog, with your children, which I strongly recommend that you do regularly, you may encounter certain plants that have specific components that are volatile and can be producing an adverse reaction. How do you deal with it on the spot? That's another thing. There are plants that you can find on the spot that you can make a spit poultice or do something quickly with the leaf and immediately bring some level of relief.
Amazing. I remember messaging you because I knew what had happened, and I'm going back to the poison ivy incident. And I should have been wearing better footwear. I know to do that, but it was wet and it was rainy, and I was trying to keep the inside of the tent dry and move fast, and slid into the poison ivy. And I knew to wash it, soap and water, get as much of the oils off, and then asked a park ranger, we're like, what else can I do? She's like, yeah, you're screwed. You just got to ride this out and ride the reaction. And thinking like, oh, nature's not mean like that. It doesn't do that. There's got to be something. Melusine's going to know. I'm going to message Melusine wherever I can find reception. And, or it's like your comment of white oak, where it's like, yeah, it was right next to it. It was everywhere around us. Poison ivy was everywhere around us, and so was the white oak. So I was in such deep gratitude for that knowledge, and for nature's provision and nature's abundance and nature's kindness and wisdom to us. It's such a, I mean, you say short fixes, and I think about, yeah, the reductionist way we've learned to live, and that split between mind and body, and can I pop it in a microwave, or, you know, what's the cost to me? What's my time investment? What's all of this? But yeah, to me, what you're saying, taking this very holistic, all-encompassing approach and reclaiming the wisdom that, like, great grandparents would have had, and would have had the know-how of how to do these things, and not be reliant on others, not be reliant on, can I get cell phone reception to ask someone, how do I deal with this? I consider myself a fairly competent camper, but I've never done poison ivy before. So really just in gratitude for what you're offering. It sounds so incredible and so amazing. So on that topic, a little bit about the logistics of the course. It's starting in the fall, and it's going to run how long? It's going to be structured how? Can you give a bit of information in that capacity?
It is recorded, and I am a firm believer that people process information in 3 specific categories. I have created a video. I will have an audio component for people who process with their ears, and written. There's tons of material that you will have to work with, including blank pages that would serve as your personal reference library, creating a workbook where you are learning how to connect with the plants, so you can write down where you found them, what your immediate impact was. If you sit and meditate with them, what was the feeling you got from them, and how you prepared whatever it is that you are going to create, because I'll teach you how to do infusions, both with oil, with alcohol, oxymels, which is with honey and vinegar, all kinds of things, powders, salves. So you will have in your toolbox and your own personal first aid, something that you would have in your home and you could bring along with you when you are going camping. A balm you would be able to carry if you got bug bites, somebody gets stung. Those are the things that can happen, and that will be provided within each of the individual modules, which will talk about the notion of purging, as in we need twice a year to purge. That is to say, detox. So if you have parasites, and these are microorganisms, I'm not talking about tapeworm necessarily, but something that has found its way into your gut, because your gut is your third brain. You've got your heart and your mind and your gut. If your gut microbiome is out of balance, everything else is going to be out of whack. You can have insomnia, you can have anxiety, all of that can be biochemically driven. And if your gut isn't properly balanced, and in many cases, if you have been overprescribed antibiotics, you have been stripped of good bacteria. You must understand that there is good bacteria and opportunistic bacteria that harms the host. So knowing what that distinction is, and also knowing what the plants are that counter those opportunistic bacteria without disrupting your own personal microbiome, that's the key, and that is something that I teach. So there's the purging, there is the purifying, which is something like a blood cleanser in the event that something has found its way systemically into, by way of a cut you may have been exposed to, or something you touched that is now, your skin is an organ. So coming into contact with that also means that it can be absorbed topically. So you have to have a knowledge of how to remedy that both internally and externally. So I teach that in the way of individual modules that are recorded. Then there is a weekly Q&A where everybody who's doing the exercises that are provided in the modules will be able to ask about things that they may not have complete clarity. It is open all in perpetuity. So even though I'm starting the class September the 8th, you can watch these modules anytime during the year and forever. So it is not a question of it expiring with a certain time frame. I'm relying on the integrity of the students not to share the password, because it will be on Vimeo and you will be able to access it by way of a password. But if you tell other people about the course and give them the password, then that in effect is preventing the possibility of this being a proper energetic exchange between me giving you that information and what you gain from it. So I'm relying on the integrity of the individuals participating, which is why a lot of people who offer courses limit the time frame that you have it in order to prevent the material from being stolen. I, on the other hand, this is not material I own. This is ancestral knowledge. This is just me compiling information that's useful for a beginner who has no background, because sadly, as a consequence of what went down generations before, women were burned as witches, and they were the herbalists. They brought babies into the world and they escorted elders out and saw to it that their souls were properly taken care of, both while they were in a vessel and as soon as they left. That was denied us by, I'm not going to go into politics or religion, but there was most assuredly a campaign against this knowledge for other purposes. And now it's a question of reviving that. Apart from the indigenous communities who maintained the traditions when they could, when you didn't have the colonization tyrannically abusing them. So these methodologies are similar across the world. So I will be telling you what those indigenous medicines and traditions were that were passed to me, and incorporate things that I was taught by way of my grandmother. And that is going to be universally applicable, no matter what circumstances you find yourself, no matter what country or culture you're in, and it can be readily used under every circumstance. So you can use those units, you will have loads of reference material, additional background reading, and I hope that ultimately what I'm doing is empowering you to take responsibility for your own well-being and have enough information under your belt. And it doesn't have to be confusing. And as I said, you don't have to turn this into something where it is meticulously looking at what the ratio and proportions are. What I'm teaching you is very simple procedure that will be easy to integrate into your lifestyle, no matter where it is that you are and how it is that you are getting through.
Amazing. Awesome. That sounds so good. So good, Melusine. In terms of, I work with a lot of parents, a lot of kids, you know that. And I, as a parent myself, see this as so vital. I had the advantage when I slid into that poison ivy, and then my foot started to itch after, to use willpower, not to scratch it until I had another solution. My 8-year-old or my 5-year-old would not have had that willpower to rely on. We would have needed some sort of aid to us. I've been asked by a few parents in my practice, like in terms of the time commitment, doable for a parent. Yeah.
Oh, most assuredly. This is not a question of, you've got to meet me at Thursday at 10 every week for the next 10 weeks. No, the recordings are there for you. If the only downtime you have is at 11 p.m. when the kids are asleep, the units are not long. We're not talking about something that would give you a degree at the end. But it is, I'm trying to make it easily accessible to everybody, no matter what their schedule is and no matter how many responsibilities they have. So that most assuredly is something that someone, even with babies, infants and toddlers, that's a 24/7 job. And I am a mother, and I totally understand that. And there is an exhaustion factor as well, as far as how much can you absorb when you're so dead tired that. So this is the reason I recorded them, because you can watch them over and over again. And if you didn't understand, then you can look at it again. And repetition has a means of making certain that you have the neural circuitry as well. So if you just keep watching it, it might take you 2 or 3 times, but I'm including recipes as well. So there is a practical aspect to this. And once again, these are ridiculously simple. The foraging is a little time consuming, but you can turn that into an adventure with your kids, show them what the plant is, tell them what the use of the plant is. And that would make my heart sing, because you are passing down to the next generation what we were denied.
Absolutely. Amazing. And as a single parent running a business, I am so grateful for how you're structuring this. Really, really grateful that it's doable and it's undertakeable. In terms of actually signing up, are you going to put a registration cap on it? What's the investment, and how do people actually sign up and enroll for this?
The cost is $180 for the whole program, which I think is reasonable, and compared to a lot of other people who are teaching herbal medicine is actually quite fair. So I checked the market to see exactly what I'm putting out versus what other people are offering as competitors, for want of a better word. I don't follow that mentality. I'm not here to compete with anybody. I'm here to share information. And if someone has more information than I do, I'm going to point you to them as a resource. So this is not about hoarding something. This is about disseminating it as fast as possible, because we desperately need it. So $180 covers the entire course. And there will be a registration link on my website, and you would be able to go directly to that and make your payment. And I can even accommodate someone who is financially distressed and wants to do it in increments, so they can divide it into 5 separate payments. That would make it affordable to everybody, because I am not about capitalism here. This is trying to provide information to everybody from every walk of life, no matter what their circumstances are.
Beautiful. So what I will do is I'm going to tag you when I post this on Instagram. I'll tag your Melusine account. And then if anybody has any other questions that maybe we didn't touch on or that they want to know more about, then if they want to post a comment or message you or something in that regard, then that would, I think, be a good means of them contacting you. And I
Yeah.
will also post your link, I think, in my link tree as well, just so that it's really, really easy for the people who are following my channel to find it, and make it accessible, because I really believe in the value of this and see it as such a worthwhile thing. And I'd like to help facilitate us stepping back into these really holistic, empowered, wise woman ways, as you said, the things that we've lost over time that we're stepping back into. And I think that is so exciting. So I want to thank you so much, from my heart to yours, Melusine, from coming on and joining. Is there anything else that from your perspective you wanted to share that perhaps we didn't touch on?
I'd like to encourage people to approach this as an adventure. So you're exploring the world that was created, the paradise that is within arm's reach. If you approach it like a child would, with fascination, with wonder, getting acquainted with these plants and understanding that they are, case in point, every year. And you don't have to have a big garden. You can even just create these in a pot. You can grow lemon balm in a pot if that's one of the plants. I give you a lot of basic information that you can grow on your own if you so desire. And what I have found consistently is that whatever I need personally grows up in my backyard without me planting it. This year it was yellow dock, so I clearly need a blood purifier. So there is a doctrine of signatures, which I'm teaching you, that talks about the plant, and the way it looks is an indication of how it helps you. So all of the signs are there. Look at it as the divine exploration of nature, and how you can work in unison and in harmony, and the world will change very quickly if we approach things in this fashion.
Beautiful. Love it. Again, thank you so much, Melusine. It's been such a privilege, and I'm excited for your course.
Thank you so much. From my heart to yours, I really appreciate your support and your encouragement. As always, you are the consummate professional, and having your seal of approval means so much to me.
Oh, okay. I'm going to sign off and post this for everyone on